What is up, everybody? This year I got to go to South by Southwest, and you can too. That's right, all you need is an Amazon Prime subscription because this year the festival's online because our world is slowly dying. But hey, that means one of the biggest film festivals in the world can be enjoyed from the comfort of our homes now, so I guess look on the bright side. I thought it'd be fun to go through all the narrative shorts that they put out for this festival and watch all of them and rank them, so that's what I'm gonna do. I think short films are a really underrated way to tell stories, and I honestly don't watch as many of them as I should, so I thought this would be a good excuse to kind of hop on board that train. So choo choo, here we go. God, I can't believe I made that joke. I'm sorry. I'm trying to put this out very quickly because guess what? These films are only going to be available for 10 days, probably 9 by the time anybody's hearing this. So sorry for the quick and dirty editing. It is what it is. Also, if any of the filmmakers who made any of these films ever stumble across this video and I talk shit about your movie, I apologize for that too. Don't worry. You got a film in the South by Southwest and I haven't. You're probably a better person than me. But anyway, let's get on to the movies, which I've ranked in order of my least favorite to my favorite, because why not?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Number 18, The Voice in Your Head. This is a comedy short about a man who's being haunted by another man who voices all the negative thoughts in his head. Unfortunately for me, comedy shorts kind of live or die on whether they're funny or not to you, and this one just wasn't very funny to me. I also thought it wasn't shot particularly well, unfortunately. There's a twist in the middle of it that I thought could have been interesting, but the way it ends up playing out just didn't quite do it for me. But who knows, something I don't think is funny could totally be funny to someone else, so maybe check it out if you think the premise is interesting. And I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. Number 17, Father of the Bride. This short film's about a guy who's about to give a best man speech at his older brother's wedding, who has a, let's say, awkward interaction with the father of the bride, get it, the title, before it happens, and then things kind of spiral out of control. I didn't really like this one. I wasn't really sure what the point of it was, and I didn't really, honestly, that's kind of just what it comes down to. I didn't understand why I was watching what I was watching. I didn't understand what it was trying to say. Also, the sound design in particular in this one was really rough. I had a really hard time understanding what characters were saying. It's shot pretty well, but I just didn't really enjoy my time with it. So giving this one a 4 out of 10. Number 16, Soft. This is a short film that seems to be about a young man and his friends, and also, I guess, his martial arts coach. At least that's what it says in the description of the film. I had a really hard time picking up on that. The relationships in this short are kind of confusing. There's some nice cinematography and there's some nice character moments, but I wasn't really sure what the point of it was. Maybe it flew over my head. This one just didn't really do it for me either, so I'm gonna go ahead and give this one also a 4 out of 10. Number 15, A Period Piece. This is a short about a woman who invites a man over to do it, for lack of a better term, although there's probably a lot of other terms, I don't know, fuck, have sex, whatever you want to call it, while she's on her period, and they deal with it. I thought the chemistry between the characters was really good, and the dialogue was good. Honestly, the only thing that really tanked this short for me was there's a point halfway through where there's this random bit of information that gets revealed about one of the characters that kind of made me not like either of the characters anymore, and I'm not really sure why it was necessary, and it kind of made me not enjoy the second half of the short. But it's well shot, it's well acted, and it's a good premise, and it's about subject matter that honestly should be talked about more. I respect it for that, but ultimately it just didn't really do a whole lot for me, so that's why it's here on the list, and that's why I'm also giving it a 5 out of 10. Number 14, Run On. This short is about a mother who's trying to run away from something with her young son, and they end up at a bus station. I think obviously the thing that's probably the most notable about this short is the first big chunk of it seems like it was done in one shot, or it's done in a way where it's cheated to look like it's done in one shot, which is what I assume it was. And while that's cool, I honestly didn't quite love the way that it looked, and I'm not sure the oneer was really necessary. I guess it was trying to kind of amp up the tension of the film, but I don't know. The child actor does a really good job, and the woman playing the mom does a good job, and there is some tension. The story doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere, and the way it ends felt very odd and super unsatisfying. And I'm not one that's against a sad ending or anything like that. I just didn't really understand what it was trying to go for. It's got a couple nice little character moments. It's got some interesting choices in the way that it's shot, but yeah, I just didn't really click with this one either, unfortunately, and I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Number 13, Basic. This is the shortest film on this entire list, clocking in at like under 3 minutes, I think. It's a fun little comedy thing about a woman going through some Instagram posts. It's actually shot really well. It's edited in an interesting way, and I don't really feel like I wasted my time with it, but ultimately it was just a fun little 3-minute thing. Probably not going to be thinking about it for forever, but I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Number 12, Broken Bird. This short is about a young girl who's getting ready for her bat mitzvah, and she spends the afternoon with her dad. She's a child of divorce. She's kind of going through some doubts herself, and her relationship with her father seems a little rocky, but he seems to want to be a part of her life. It's got some interesting little character beats. It's shot really well, I think. And you can tell there was a lot of passion behind the project, but it is only as good as it can pretty much be for a 10-minute short about a girl kind of being like, oh, my dad, and oh, my bat mitzvah, and yeah. I did enjoy the stuff towards the end where it seemed like she was fusing the two things from both her worlds together to kind of create this unique thing, but it doesn't fully pay off like I thought maybe it would. And I also like the bold choice of the way that it actually does end too. It's pretty straight down the middle, short little coming of age thing. It's good, but it's only so good. And I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Number 11, Reminiscence of the Green Revolution. Award for most cumbersome title goes to this one. This is a short film that's set in the Philippines about this sort of young group of people that want to be protesters, revolutionaries. It's told from the perspective of somebody who's kind of talking in the past tense. I think it's kind of not much of a spoiler to say that he's dead and he's narrating sort of the last couple days of his life. I like the way this was shot. I like the pacing of it, but I think this short committed the cardinal sin that is sort of the biggest no-no that you can do with a short film, and that is thou shalt not make a short that seems like it's just a piece of something that should be a bigger movie. It does a really good job of laying out the characters, and I was actually really interested in all of them and their group dynamic, but because it's a short, it just kind of ramps up to the ending and then it's over, and ultimately I was kind of sitting there like, well, that was a thing and I'm not entirely sure what the point of it was, but it was well made and I really felt the passion behind it, and I definitely think the person that made this probably has the potential to make something really good, but ultimately it fell into kind of the middle of the pack for me, and I'm also giving this one a 6 out of 10. Number 10, Single. This is a short film about a woman with a single arm who gets set up on a blind date. I thought the characters were pretty interesting, the dialogue was really good, and you could tell that the script was interested in delving into sort of the mentality of a person who lives this kind of life. I thought in a pretty short amount of time that we had with these characters, I really got an understanding of their mindsets and maybe a little bit of what it's like to be them. And it also does a really good job of showing you that these characters aren't just this single defining trait that a lot of people maybe mark them for. The only thing that kind of keeps this from being the top of the top is it's a pretty straight down the middle, fun little short. It's got some funny moments. It's got some pretty decent dialogue. It's pretty well shot, but at the end of the day, it's just a pretty good short about some people on a date, and I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Number 9, Figurant. This is a foreign short from the Czech Republic, I believe, and it's actually a little bit hard to describe the plot of it, but that's kind of the point. The character that we're following seems to be just as confused as the audience is supposed to be in the situation that he's found himself in. He's kind of being thrust into this room and being told to dress and told to march out somewhere. And I had a fun time trying to see how it was going to unravel. It definitely kept my attention. It's really well shot. The guy that plays the main character he doesn't have any lines, and he still does a really good job. His facial expressions do more than enough for us to understand how he's feeling in the moment. But by the end, it kind of leads up to this big thing, and it was kind of fun and kind of shocking, and then it was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess that was what happened. I do think there's some interesting underlying themes here about people being used and pushed around, and maybe some of the lower sectors of society being taken advantage of, and I definitely respect it for that. It was pretty good, but I don't know if I'm really going to be thinking about it a whole lot, but I definitely think it's worth at least a watch once. It was pretty cool, and I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Number 8, Dirty. This is a little bit of a coming-of-age short about a young boy. I never know what to say. Young boy, young man, a teenager. Could just be a teenager, I suppose. It's a story of a teenager having his first sexual experience and how that can be kind of messy, and how lack of sex education can also lead to those messy situations. I thought this one was pretty charming. I thought the chemistry between the characters was really good, and I thought the message behind it was pretty earnest and maybe even important for some people that might see this in the future. So I really have to give it props for that, and I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Number 7, Face to Face Time. This short's pretty appropriate for the situation we all find ourselves in today. It's about a woman doing a FaceTime call with a man that she just started seeing, and they try to have sort of a awkward over the internet interaction that seems to have its ups and downs. I thought this one was pretty cute, and I thought it was really funny. I enjoyed a couple of the reveals, and also I think this is like the second shortest of the shorts, so you definitely won't feel like you're really wasting your time if you give it a watch. You might get a chuckle or two out of it. I certainly enjoyed it, and I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Number 6, Waffle. I thought this short was on pace to maybe be my favorite of all of these, and then it kind of fumbles a little bit towards the end. However, I thought this one was really fun. The tone of it was really interesting, and I thought it was funny too. This is maybe the only like truly dark comedy on this list, and I appreciate it for that. It's I don't know if I even want to spoil it. It's kind of about this weird woman and this woman who's hanging out with her for certain reasons that I don't want to spoil because that's part of the fun of the short. Even though it's tonally heightened and the world is kind of supposed to be a little silly, I thought it didn't quite earn some of the places that it ends up going, but I really enjoyed the performances. I thought it was shot really, really well. I thought a lot of the comedy did work for me, and I love the premise. It's a premise that I'll maybe keep thinking about for quite some time. But like I said, just a couple fumbles here and there and some character moments that seem like they were missed opportunities kind of keep this one not quite at the top of the list, but it's still really, really good, and it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you like the darker type humor. And I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Number 5, Blocks. This short is about a mother who starts randomly vomiting Lego blocks. If you thought they hurt when you stepped on them, I'm not sure how much worse it must be to puke them up. But interesting premise aside, I also think this one's incredibly well shot, incredibly well acted. The chemistry between the wife and husband is actually really, really great. There's some good character moments. Even the children do a pretty adequate job. I think what really elevates this for me is the metaphor of her vomiting up Legos. I think actually works really well as a metaphor for her kind of being at her wit's end with motherhood and her whole situation. And it's not handled in a sort of like super dark tone. And the ending was pretty fun. Something that could have been a potentially gnarly, dark short ultimately was kind of just a fun, lighthearted little look at losing your mind a little bit when you're in charge of a household. And I really enjoyed my time with it. And I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Number 4, Still Wild. This is a short about a woman who finds out that she's pregnant with the baby of a man who she's only kind of casually dating, and it kind of goes from there. I don't want to spoil much more about it. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily the best acted or shot of all these shorts, but the way that it handles the subject matter I think is really interesting and touching, and it goes to some really cool places. I really liked a lot of the choices that they made, and I think of all the things that I watched, this is the one that maybe got me the most misty-eyed, if that's something that you're looking for. In the little bit where the person introduces the film before they play it, the writer, director, star of the film said it was something that had personally happened to her, and I kind of felt that with the short, and I really ended up liking it, and I really connected with the characters by the end, and I'm glad I got the chance to watch it. And I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Number 3, Vert. This is a short about a couple that's been married for, I believe, 20 years, deciding to take a little trip into virtual reality where their ideal selves will be revealed to them. I really thought this was one of the more gorgeously shot of the shorts. I kind of joke about people throwing a bunch of pink and blue light into stuff just to make it look interesting, but god damn it, it works. And it works really well for this one too. Something I really liked about this film was it's able to cram a lot of storytelling into such a short amount of time, and yet still also have moments for the characters to breathe a little bit. There's a whole little chunk where the characters are just dancing to what I think is a very catchy song. I know I was kind of singing it during the credits. I really liked what it says about the couple's relationship and where it's going and how they're using this way to communicate these issues to each other, and these things are kind of being revealed. I thought it was a really beautiful story actually, and honestly I feel like I'm personally biased because the subject matter is something that I feel somewhat personally connected to, so maybe I'm a little over the top on this one, but I really liked it. This is actually the only one that I watched twice, and I'm glad I watched it a second time because there was a couple little character details that, knowing where it goes, I got to pick up on the second go around, and I don't know, I liked it a lot. I probably will watch it again, honestly. In fact, the more I talk about it, the more I'm not sure why it's not number one on my list, but I guess this is the way I ordered it, so whatever. If you get the chance, you should totally check it out. I thought it was really great, and I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Number 2, Daddio. A lot of times I give a little bit of a sigh when somebody says a short is based on something that happened in their lives, because sometimes it can be kind of tough to take personal stuff and turn it into an actually interesting story, but in this case, the writer has a pretty interesting story that she wants to tell. It's about a daughter and father who are still kind of grieving the loss of their mother/wife. That sounds weird when I say it like that, but I was lumping it all together. You know what I mean. And it's actually really funny. It's got some good dark humor in it. I was kind of on board from the jump because there's a joke really early on during the funeral scene that I thought was pretty great, and I was kind of just on board from there. Both the characters are clearly dealing with this loss in their own way, and this did what I think a really truly great short film is supposed to do. It introduces you to this world and these characters, it gets you on board for them, you understand their situation, it hits you with some fun jokes, and ultimately it brings it to a really satisfying resolution. I just thought this was really well done. It's pretty well shot. It's maybe the best acted of all the shorts because, well, almost all the people that show up in this short are actually really well-known, high-caliber actors, and they all do a fucking great job. The guy that's playing the dad is super hilarious, and the woman that plays the daughter is great. I really like her. I think of everything I watched, this is easily the one I laughed out loud the most during. It was just a really enjoyable ride. It felt good, but it still had these interesting little bits of super dark humor that I just didn't see coming that kept blindsiding me, and it just felt really raw and real in the best way, and I thought it was super duper great. Enough that I felt the need to say super duper apparently, and I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. Number 1, Summer Hit. This is a short film about a woman who's hooking up with a guy, and it's really supposed to be kind of this summer fling that isn't meant to last, but both the characters end up kind of confronting their feelings for each other, and I just thought this one was really great. I thought maybe of everything I watched, I maybe loved the look of this one the most. It's got this really soft, beautiful color palette. I think everything just looks really gorgeous. I like the way everything's framed. I like the editing choices. They let the characters kind of do their scenes, and there's not a lot of cutting, but everything just looks really pretty. I thought the chemistry between the two leads was great. It kind of felt like a relationship that I maybe hadn't seen quite done in a film before, and it managed to do it in under 20 minutes in a really interesting and satisfying way. The relationship goes through its ups and downs, and it's cute, it's funny. You're kind of like, ah man, I want this to work out, but I'm not sure if it's going to. I felt endeared to the characters right at the beginning. There's a bit of an exchange that they have post-sex that, again, I didn't really feel like I'd quite seen in a film before, and I kind of liked this one for going there. I thought this film was pretty funny too. It definitely got a few chuckles out of me. I think what was really great about this one though was this felt like it could have been a feature film. I definitely could have seen these two characters having a full-length story, but instead of just truncating it or cliffhanging anything, it lets us see the development of the relationship in this short film, and it does it in a satisfying way, and it ends where it probably should have ended, and it was just really well done. My might even try to pay attention to the person that made this film in the future, because I'm curious about what else they've got in them. I definitely think they're the kind of person that can handle a good rom-com, and Lord knows we weirdly don't seem to be getting as many of those anymore, and if we get more like this, I'd be happy to have them. I think at first I was mildly intimidated by the 20-ish minute runtime, but I don't really feel like a second of it was wasted, and I probably could have watched more by the end of it, so really well done. I love this one, and I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10 also. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for me talking about the narrative shorts at the South by Southwest Film Festival. I think this is probably the only video I'm going to do on this. This was a whole thing, and yeah, I hope by making this video I've maybe interested you in watching some of these short films. Short films are great. I wish people watch more of them. I think it's a really fertile ground to tell certain stories. Some stories, they just are meant to be 10-minute stories, and that's it. You get in, you get out, you have a good time. That sounded sexual. I don't know. That was not my intention. I apologize. But yeah, totally check out Amazon Prime. It's really great that they're doing this for the South by Southwest Festival. It's a shame that it had to be canceled. I hope to go there sometime in person myself someday. I definitely think if this is a taste of what it's like, I'm even more interested in going. And if you get a chance, maybe check out some of the other stuff they have up there. They have some feature films, they have some feature-length documentaries, and they have some short documentaries. But for my purposes, I wanted to cover the narrative shorts because that's what I was most interested in. I hope maybe I bring a little bit more attention to it, and I hope everyone out there is having a good time. I know I am. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and I will catch you guys on the flip-flop later.